know you're rich when your car has a better entertainment system than your house. We're talking about rides with PlayStation 4S, massive TVs and sound systems that could blow the roof off a concert hall. And that's just what's inside. Wait till you see what these babies look like on the outside. BMW i7. This isn't just any old luxury car. It's been crowned the Luxury Car of the Year for 2023. Yeah, you heard that right. But what makes this electric beast so special? Picture this. You're cruising down the highway in your i7 and suddenly you decide you want to catch up on the latest blockbuster. No problem. With the touch of a button, a massive 31-inch 8K theater screen folds down from the roof behind the front seats. It's like having your own personal IMAX theater on wheels. And we're not talking about some tiny laptop-sized screen here. This thing is huge. But wait, there's more. What's a movie without killer sound? BMW's got you covered with an upgraded Bowers & Wilkins surround sound system. It's so good, you might forget you're in a car and think you've been teleported to a high-end concert hall. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sure, it's got all these fancy gadgets, but can it actually perform as a car? Well, let me tell you, this thing doesn't just look pretty. The BMW i7 is packing some serious power under the hood. It's got a massive 101.7 kWh battery that'll take you up to 388 miles on a single charge. That's like driving from New York to Boston and back without breaking a sweat. And if you're worried about speed, don't be. All BMW i7 models can go from 0 to 62 miles per hour in under 5 seconds. That's faster than you can say, "Holy smokes, Batman." And for those of you who really want to put the pedal to the metal, there's even a performance-oriented M Sport version with a whopping 537 brake horsepower. That's enough power to make your grandma's wig fly off. But here's the thing, the i7 isn't just about raw power and fancy screens. Step inside and you'll feel like you've entered a futuristic lounge. The interior is packed with so much tech you might need a degree in computer science just to figure out all the features. Mercedes Maybach GLS 600. It is just another big shiny car, right? Wrong. This isn't just any SUV, it's the first SUV from Mercedes' ultra-luxury Maybach division. Yeah, you heard that right. They took their top-of-the-line GLS and said, nah, not fancy enough. So what makes this thing so special? Well, for starters, it's got more chrome than a 1950s diner. The exterior is so shiny you might need sunglasses just to look at it. And if that's not enough to turn heads, you can get it with a two-tone paint job that'll make your neighbor's Porsche look like a kid's toy. But let's be real, the outside is just the appetizer. The real magic happens when you step inside. You know how some cars have leather seats? This thing is practically wearing a whole cow. The interior is covered in so much premium leather you'll feel like you're sitting inside the world's fanciest baseball glove. And the seats? Oh man, the seats. They're not just comfy, they're like sitting on a cloud made of marshmallows. They've got power-adjustable recliner functions that'll make your living room lazy boy look like a wooden stool. You could probably sleep better in this car than you do in your own bed. But here's where it gets really wild. You know how some cars have that new car smell? The Maybach GLS 600 has a freaking fragrance diffuser. No, really, it's got its own built-in perfume. Because why settle for that boring old new car smell when you can have your SUV smelling like a French perfumery? And we haven't even gotten to the tech yet. This thing's got not one, but two 12.3-inch infotainment displays. It's like having two iPads glued to your dashboard. They're powered by Mercedes' latest MBUX software, which is so smart it might as well be sentient. But the cherry on top? The sound system. We're talking about a Burmester audio setup with 27 speakers. Range Rover. Now I know what you're thinking. A Range Rover, really? But hold up, this isn't the same old Range Rover your rich aunt drives to Whole Foods. We're talking about a vehicle that's so fancy, it makes other luxury SUVs look like budget rental cars. Let's start with the seats. You know how some cars have heated seats? That's cute. The Range Rover's got seats that'll massage you better than a professional masseuse. No, really, these seats have built-in massagers that'll work out all those knots while you're stuck in traffic. It's like having a spa day every time you drive to work. But wait, there's more. You ever been in the back of a car and thought, man, I wish I had a table right now? Well, the Range Rover's got you covered. With the push of a button, power-deployable rear seat tray tables pop out. It's like being in first class on an airplane, except you're on the highway and your drink isn't served in a plastic cup. Speaking of drinks, forget about those lame cup holders that can barely keep your soda from spilling. The Range Rover's got a freaking beverage chiller. That's right, you can keep your champagne, or your fancy sparkling water, perfectly chilled while you're cruising down the road. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how does it stack up against other luxury SUVs? Well, let me tell you, this thing makes the Cadillac Escalade look like a kid's toy. It's in a whole different league from the Jeep Grand Wagoneer or the Mercedes-Benz GLS class. We're talking next-level luxury here. But here's where it gets really wild. The Range Rover SV Autobiography, try saying that 5 times fast, has got a terrain response system that's smarter than some people I know. It actually scans the environment and switches between 5 different driving modes automatically. Sand, snow, mud, rocks, asphalt. This thing can handle it all without you having to lift a finger. And get this, instead of a boring old key, you get a waterproof wristband. Just tap it on the door and boom, you're in. It's perfect for when you're coming back from the beach and don't want to dig through your bag for your keys. But the real magic happens in the back seats. It's not just a car, it's a lounge on wheels. We're talking fold-out tables, a mini fridge and seats with built-in massage rollers. It's like flying first class, except you're on the ground and you're the one in control. And for all you tech heads out there, this thing's got a 4G Wi-Fi hotspot, HDMI ports and more charging points than a phone store. RollsRoyce Cullinan. You know how some people say go big or go home? Well, Rolls-Royce said why not do both? The Cullinan is their first ever SUV and boy did they go all out. This thing is like a 5-star hotel on wheels, except it can also climb mountains. Let's start with the price tag. How much do you think this rolling palace costs? $100,000? $200,000? Nope. Try $325,000. And that's just the starting price. Yeah, you heard that right. For the price of a decent house in some parts of the country, you can get yourself a Cullinan. But wait, there's more. Rolls-Royce offers so many customization options, you could probably spend a small fortune just deciding what color you want your cup holders to be. Now you might be thinking, okay, it's expensive, but what makes it so special? Well, for starters, it's named after the largest rough diamond ever discovered, because why name your car after a regular diamond when you can name it after the biggest one? But here's where it gets really wild. This SUV has an off-road button. No, really, it does. You press it and suddenly this luxurious beast is ready to take on deserts, jungles and mountains. It's like having a butler who can also wrestle bears. And get this, there's a camera that constantly scans the road ahead. It's not for avoiding potholes or anything boring like that. No, it's adjusting the suspension so you always feel like you're gliding down the highway. Even if you're actually driving through a war zone, you'll feel like you're floating on a cloud made of marshmallows and dreams. Now let's talk about the inside. Rolls-Royce calls it the palatial suite. You know why? Because calling it a car interior would be like calling the Taj Mahal a nice house. This thing is trimmed with the finest leathers and the fanciest cuts of wood. It's so luxurious you might feel underdressed just sitting in it. But here's the kicker. There's a partition glass between the passenger compartment and the trunk. Why? Because Rolls-Royce believes an owner should never sit with their luggage or their dog. That's right. Your Louis Vuitton bags and your precious pooch aren't fancy enough to share the same air as you in this car. And if all that wasn't enough, the Cullinan comes in 2 trim levels. Bentley Bentayga. How fast can an SUV really go? Well, hold on to your hats because the Bentley Bentayga speed can hit a top speed of 190 miles per hour. Yeah, you heard that right. This thing is faster than some sports cars. It's like they took a race car and decided to make it comfortable enough for your grandma to ride in. But speed isn't everything, right? I mean, what good is going fast if you're not doing it in style? Well, Bentley's got you covered there too. The interior of this beast is so luxurious it'll make a 5-star hotel look like a budget motel. Let's start with the dashboard. You know how some cars have a clock? Well, the Bentayga's got a diamond-encrusted clock. No, really, it's got actual diamonds in it. Because apparently regular clocks just aren't fancy enough for Bentley. It's like they said, you know what this car needs? More bling. But wait, it gets even crazier. You ever been driving and thought, man, I could really go for a picnic right now? Well, Bentley's got you covered with their optional Mulliner hamper. This ain't your average picnic basket, folks. This thing costs $32,000. That's right, you could buy a decent car for the price of this picnic basket. So what do you get for 32 grand? Well, it's got a Bentley-branded champagne cooler, because of course it does. There's a cutlery drawer, fine china plates and crystal glasses. You know, just in case you decide to have a 5-course meal on the side of the road. Oh, and don't forget the cashmere rug, because nothing says, I'm rich like eating caviar off fine china while sitting on a cashmere rug next to your $200,000 SUV. But Bentley didn't stop there. No, they decided to take luxury to a whole new level. You know how some cars have air conditioning? Well, the Bentayga's got air conditioning that purifies the interior air, because breathing the same air as the peasants outside is just so last year. And if you thought that was fancy, wait till you hear about the floor mats. These ain't your average rubber mats. No, these are lamb's wool floor mats. That's right, you're literally walking on clouds in this car. Your feet might actually get upset when you have to step out onto regular ground again. But here's where it gets really wild. The Bentayga got something called an event seat. It's a retractable leather bench that pulls out of the trunk. Mercedes Maybach S-Class. For starters, this baby's got an extended wheelbase that's 18 centimeters longer than the standard long wheelbase S-Class. That's right, they took a car that was already longer than some people's apartments and said, nah, not long enough. But why all that extra length, you ask? Well, it's not just to make parallel parking a nightmare. No, it's all about giving you more space to stretch out and feel like royalty. And speaking of feeling like royalty, let's talk about what's inside this rolling palace. You know how some cars have leather seats? That's cute. The Maybach S-Class is decked out in the finest Napa leather. It's so soft you'll feel like you're sitting on a cloud made of butter. And it's not just on the seats. They've covered pretty much every surface in this stuff. It's like they skinned a herd of the world's happiest cows and turned them into a car interior. But wait, there's more. You ever been driving and thought, man, I could really go for a cold drink right now? Well, Mercedes has got you covered. This thing's got a built-in refrigerator. No, really. There's an actual fridge in the car because nothing says luxury like being able to grab a chilled champagne while you're stuck in traffic. And if all that luxury is making you tense, don't worry. The Maybach S-Class has got massaging seats, but these aren't your average massage chairs. Oh no, these are so fancy, they'll make you forget you're in a car. It's like having a personal masseuse on call 24/7. Now you might be thinking, okay, but how does it actually drive? Well, here's the kicker. You don't even have to drive it if you don't want to. This thing's got advanced autonomous driving aids that'll let it drive and park itself. It's like having your own personal chauffeur, except this one never asks for a raise or complains about working late. But let's say you do want to get behind the wheel. Well, hold on to your hat because this baby's got some serious power under the hood. We're talking about a twin-turbocharged V12 engine that pumps out over 620 horsepower. That's more power than some sports cars. It's like they took a rocket ship and decided to make it comfortable. Bentley Flying Spur, starting with the size. You know how some luxury cars are so big they're basically like driving a yacht on wheels? Well, Bentley decided to switch things up with the Flying Spur. They've created what they call a small four-door limousine. I know small and limousine don't usually go together, but Bentley's made it work. It's like they took all the luxury of a full-size limo and packed it into a more manageable package. But don't let the word small fool you. This thing's still got more space inside than some New York apartments. And the best part, it's not just spacious, it's fancy as hell. We're talking about an interior that's so luxurious it'll make you feel underdressed no matter what you're wearing. Now, let's talk about what's under the hood. Because this ain't just a pretty face. This baby's got some serious muscle. Bentley's giving you options, baby. You want a V6 plug-in hybrid? They got it. You prefer a 4. 0L V8? No problem. But if you really want to go all out, there's the 6. 0L W12 engine. This thing's got more cylinders than some people have fingers. And here's the kicker. No matter which engine you choose, this 2-ton plus saloon can go from 0 to 62 miles per hour in under 5 seconds. That's faster than you can say, holy cow, I'm driving a hotel room. And if you go for the W12, you're looking at a top speed of 207 miles per hour. That's right, this luxury sedan can outrun some sports cars. It's like they took a rocket ship and decided to make it comfortable. But speed ain't nothing without style, right? Well, Bentley's got you covered there too. The inside of this thing is decked out in the finest wood and leather trim. It's so fancy, you might feel like you need to take your shoes off before you get in. And get this, it's so well insulated that even at top speeds, the engine sound is just a subtle background noise. It's like they figured out how to make silence even quieter. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what if I want my Flying Spur to be even fancier? Well, Bentley's got an answer for that too. It's called the Mulliner Customization Program. This ain't your average car customization. No, this is next level stuff. You want your car interior to match your favorite suit? They can do that. RollsRoyce Ghost. Getting to know how different can one luxury car be from another. Oh, you sweet summer child, the Ghost isn't just different, it's in a league of its own. Rolls-Royce decided to take their already fancy car and give it a complete makeover. They redesigned this baby from the ground up, and let me tell you, it's a sight to behold. Picture this. You're standing on the sidewalk, minding your own business, when suddenly this sleek, streamlined beast of a car glides by. It's so smooth you'd think it was floating. That's the new Ghost for you. They've made it all muscular and lean, like a bodybuilder in a tailored suit. It's modern, it's sophisticated, and it's gonna make you do a double take. But here's the thing, the Ghost ain't just about looking pretty. No sir, this baby's got some serious power under the hood. You wanna know what kind of engine they put in this thing? How about a 6.6-litre twin-turbo V12? Yeah, you heard that right. This engine is so powerful, it's like they took a rocket ship and decided to make it street legal. And get this, it's the most powerful engine Rolls-Royce has ever produced. We're talking 563 horsepower here, folks. That's enough power to launch you into outer space. Okay, maybe not literally, but it sure feels like it when you hit the gas. This thing can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.9 seconds. That's faster than you can say, "Holy moly, I'm driving a palace on wheels." Now you might be thinking, that's all well and good, but how does it actually feel to drive? Well, let me tell you, it's like floating on a cloud made of marshmallows and dreams. Rolls-Royce calls it the pinnacle of luxury, refinement and style. And for once, that's not just marketing talk. They've built this thing on their latest aluminum chassis. They call it the architecture of luxury. Fancy name, right? But it's not just for show. This chassis is the same one they use in their other high-end models like the Cullinan SUV and the flagship Phantom. And get this, it's even in their all-electric Spectre. So, you know it's got to be good. It's like they took everything they learned from making those other fancy cars and poured it all into the Ghost. But here's where it gets really wild. Step inside the Ghost and you'll feel like you've entered another world. A world where everything is soft, quiet and smells like money. They've made the interior sumptuous yet simple. It's like they wanted to make it fancy, but not so fancy that you feel like you need to wear a tuxedo just to sit in it. RollsRoyce Spectre. This thing is so cutting edge it makes other electric cars look like they're running on AA batteries. Now you might be thinking, an electric Rolls-Royce? Isn't that like putting ketchup on caviar? Well, let me tell you, Rolls-Royce has managed to make electricity look fancy. They've taken everything you love about a Rolls-Royce, the luxury, the comfort, the style, and combined it with the smooth, silent power of electricity. But here's the kicker. This ain't just some newfangled idea Rolls-Royce came up with to jump on the electric bandwagon. No, sir. Get this. Way back in 1900, Charles Rolls himself predicted that electric propulsion would be the future of cars. Talk about being ahead of the curve. It took over 120 years, but old Charlie's prediction finally came true with the Spectre. Now let's talk about power. You might be thinking, sure, it's electric, but can it really perform like a proper Rolls-Royce? Well, let me put your mind at ease. This thing's got not one, but two electric motors that pump out a combined 577 horsepower. That's enough juice to make this 2.5-ton beast go from 0 to 60 faster than you can say, "Holy electric motors, Batman." But Rolls-Royce didn't stop at making it powerful. They've made sure this thing can go the distance too. On a single charge, the Spectre can cruise for up to 329 miles. That's like driving from New York to Washington, D.C. and back, with enough juice left over to hit up a drive-through on the way home. No range anxiety here, folks. Now let's talk about style. Because let's face it, if you're dropping Rolls-Royce money on a car, you want it to look good. And boy, does the Spectre deliver. This thing's got presence. It's sleek, it's elegant, it's everything you'd expect from a Rolls-Royce and then some. But the real magic happens when you open the doors. And I'm not talking about just any doors. The Spectre's got what they call rear hinge doors. You might know them as suicide doors, but that doesn't sound very Rolls-Royce, does it? These babies open backwards, giving you a grand entrance every time you step out. It's like having your own red carpet moment every single day. Step inside and you'll find yourself in what can only be described as a 4-seat palace. Rolls-Royce has outdone themselves with the interior. It's so luxurious you might feel underdressed no matter what you're wearing. We're talking the finest leathers, the plushest carpets, and enough legroom to host a small yoga class. Bentley Continental GT. Coming in at number 6 on our list is the Bentley Continental GT. This ain't your average luxury ride, folks. This is a grand touring coupe that's so fancy it makes other luxury cars look like they belong in a used car lot. Now you might be thinking, how different can one luxury car be from another? Oh, you sweet summer child. The Continental GT isn't just different, it's in a league of its own. Bentley decided to take the concept of a luxury grand tourer and crank it up to 11. They've created a car that's not just about getting from point A to point B, it's about enjoying every single second of the journey. Let's start with what's under the hood, because this ain't just a pretty face. This baby's got some serious muscle. Bentley's giving you options, and they're all mouth-watering. You want a 5.4-litre V8 engine that pumps out 542 horsepower? They got it. But if you really want to go all out, there's the 6.0-litre W12 engine that produces a whopping 650 horsepower. That's more power than some small countries. But here's the thing, the Continental GT ain't just about raw power. No sir, this is a car that's all about the experience. And that experience starts the moment you open the door and step inside. You know how some cars have nice interiors? Well, the Continental GT's interior is so fancy, it'll make you feel underdressed no matter what you're wearing. Get this, the interior design is inspired by the wings of the Bentley badge. No, really, it is. The dashboard majestically wings out from the central console before continuing into the door trims, circling the occupants. It's like being hugged by luxury itself. And the materials? We're talking about the finest leathers and woods, all handcrafted by artisans who probably have more talent in their little finger than most of us have in our entire bodies. But Bentley didn't stop at making it look good. They've made sure it feels good too. The seats are so comfortable you might forget you're in a car and think you've been teleported to the world's fanciest living room. And get this, they come with heating options for those cold winter days. Because heaven forbid your behind should ever have to suffer the indignity of being chilly. Lagonda Targa. Lagonda is actually a subsidiary of Aston Martin. Yeah, that Aston Martin. The same folks who make James Bond's wheels decided to create a car so exclusive, even 007 might have trouble getting his hands on one. So just how rare are we talking here? Get this, they only made 120 of these babies. That's it, just 120 in the entire world. To put that in perspective, there are probably more people who've been to space than there are Lagonda Targas on the road. It's so rare you've got a better chance of seeing a unicorn than spotting one of these on the street. But rarity ain't nothing without a price tag to match. And boy, does the Lagonda Targa deliver. You want to know how much one of these rolling works of art costs? Brace yourself, we're talking $1 million. Yeah, you heard that right. For the price of this car, you could buy a decent house in some parts of the country, or a whole fleet of regular luxury cars. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what does $1 million get you? Well, let me tell you, it gets you a whole lot of car. For starters, this thing's got a top speed of 195 miles per hour. That's faster than some planes. And it can go from 0 to 60 in just 4.4 seconds. It's like they took a rocket ship and decided to make it street legal. But speed ain't nothing without style, right? Well, the Lagonda Targa's got style in spades. This thing is 18 feet long. That's longer than some people's apartments. And all that length translates into some serious legroom. You could probably do yoga in the back seat of this thing. And let's talk about that interior for a second, because this ain't your average car interior. No, sir, this is a work of art. The inside of the Lagonda Targa is covered in the finest leather you've ever seen. It's so soft you might think they skinned a cloud to make it. And it's not just any old leather. We're talking about expensive cream-colored leather that creates a cocoon of luxury around you. But here's where it gets really wild. You know how some cars have a name that's just, well, a name? Not the Lagonda Targa. According to Aston Martin, Targa actually means ultimate luxury in Arabic, and let me tell you, they ain't lying. This car is the definition of ultimate luxury, Rolls-Royce Phantom. You might be thinking, how much fancier can a car get? Oh, you sweet summer child. The Phantom isn't just fancy, it's in a whole other universe of luxury. We're talking about a car that's so opulent it's like they took a 5-star hotel, shrunk it down and put wheels on it. But here's the thing. The Phantom ain't just about looking pretty. No, sir, this baby's got some serious power under the hood. You want to know what kind of engine they put in this thing? How about a 6.75-litre V12? Yeah, you heard that right. This engine is so powerful it's like they took a rocket ship and decided to make it comfortable. And get this, it's not just powerful, it's smooth too. This engine delivers 570 horsepower in a way that's so subtle you might not even realize you're moving. It's like they figured out how to make power quiet. You can overtake anyone on the road without even spilling your champagne. Now, let's talk about the inside of this rolling palace, because that's where the real magic happens. You know how some cars have a sunroof? Well, the Phantom's got something called a starlight headliner. No, really it does. It's like they took a piece of the night sky and stuck it on the roof of the car. We're talking about 1,526 fiber optic lights that create a starry sky effect right above your head. It's so beautiful you might forget you're in a car and think you've been teleported to a planetarium. But wait, it gets even crazier. You know how some cars have fancy options? Well, the Phantom's got options you didn't even know existed. We're talking about things like anti-paparazzi curtains. Because heaven forbid someone should catch a glimpse of you in your $400,000 car. And get this, it's got secret umbrella compartments. No, really it does. Because apparently regular umbrella holders just aren't fancy enough for Rolls-Royce. And if all that wasn't enough, they've even got an option for an art gallery dashboard. Yeah, you heard that right. An actual art gallery. In your car. Lexani G77 Skymaster. I won't be surprised if you might be thinking, a Ford? How fancy can that be? Oh, you sweet summer child. Lexani didn't just slap some fancy paint on a pickup and call it a day. No sir, they took that F550 and transformed it into something so luxurious it makes other high-end cars look like they belong in a junkyard. Let's start with the outside. This thing is basically a high-end van, but don't let that fool you. It's what's on the inside that'll make your jaw drop. You open those doors and it's like stepping into a whole other world, a world where everything is covered in the finest Italian leather and gold. Speaking of leather, let's talk about those seats. This baby's got 6 Italian leather seats that are so comfy, you might forget you're in a car and think you've been teleported to the world's fanciest living room. And they're not just any old seats. No, these are power-adjustable recliners. It's like having your favorite lazy boy, but way fancier. But comfort ain't nothing without entertainment, right? Well, the Skymaster's got you covered there too. You want to know what kind of TV they put in this thing? How about a 65-inch Samsung TV? Yeah, you heard that right. This car's got a TV bigger than most people have in their living rooms. You could probably watch the Super Bowl in here and have a better view than the folks in the actual stadium. And if all that TV watching got you thirsty, don't worry. The Skymaster's got its own kitchenette, complete with a coffee machine. Because why settle for gas station coffee when you can brew your own gourmet cup right in your car? But here's where it gets really wild. You know how some cars have an office space? Well, the Skymaster's got a whole boardroom. No, really, it does. We're talking 4 chairs, 2 flat-screen TVs, and a retractable table. You could probably run a Fortune 500 company from the back of this thing. And if all that work's got you tired, don't worry. Those boardroom seats, they fold down into a double bed. It's like having a 5-star hotel suite right in your car. Because why choose between traveling and sleeping in luxury when you can do both at the same time? Now let's talk about that bathroom, because this ain't your average car bathroom. No sir, this is luxury on a whole other level. You want to know what kind of sink they put in this thing? How about a sink coated in 24-karat gold? Yeah, you heard that right. Even the sink in this car is fancier than most people's entire bathrooms. But Lexani didn't stop at making it luxurious. They made sure it rides like a dream too. Carman King SUV, $1.9 million. Yeah, you heard that right. For the price of this car, you could buy a decent mansion in some parts of the country. Or, you know, a whole fleet of regular luxury SUVs. But here's the thing, the Carman King ain't just about being expensive. No sir, this baby's got some serious style. You ever seen those stealth bombers? Well, imagine if one of those had a baby with a luxury SUV. That's pretty much what the Carman King looks like. It's got this angular, futuristic design that's so out there you might think it just rolled off the set of a sci-fi movie. Now, let's talk about what's inside this rolling palace. Because that's where the real magic happens. You know how some cars have leather seats? Well, the Carman King's got seats made of alligator skin. No, really it does. Because apparently regular leather just ain't fancy enough for this ride. And if that's not enough to impress you, how about this? It's got a built-in PlayStation 4. Yeah, you heard that right. You can play video games in your car. It's like they looked at a regular SUV and said, you know what this needs? More ways to avoid talking to your passengers. But wait, there's more. You know how some cars have a coffee cup holder? Well, the Carman King's got a whole coffee maker. Because why buy coffee when you can brew your own gourmet cup right in your car? Now you might be thinking, okay, but what if I need to transport all my gold bars and priceless jewels? Well, don't worry, the Carman King's got you covered there too. You can get this baby with bulletproof plating. No, really you can. It's like they took a luxury SUV and decided to make it apocalypse-proof. But here's the kicker. All that bulletproof plating, it makes this thing heavy. Gold Rolls-Royce. You might be thinking, a gold car? That's a bit much, isn't it? Oh, you sweet summer child, this ain't just any gold car. This is a custom-built Rolls-Royce made specifically for the Sultan of Brunei. Because when you're a sultan, apparently a regular Rolls just won't do. Let's talk about that gold for a second. Because this ain't just some fancy gold paint job. No sir, this baby's covered in actual 24-karat gold plating. You heard that right. It's like they took a Rolls-Royce and dipped it in liquid gold. And if that wasn't enough, they went ahead and added gold ornaments too. Because why stop at gold plating when you can add even more gold? But here's the thing, this gold Rolls-Royce ain't just about being shiny. No, this car's got a story. You want to know why the Sultan had it made? It was to celebrate his son's wedding. Because nothing says congratulations on getting married like a car that's worth more than most people's entire life savings. Now let's talk about the price tag. You want to know how much this rolling gold mine costs? Brace yourself. We're talking $14 million. Yeah, you heard that right. For the price of this car, you could buy a whole fleet of regular Rolls-Royces. Or, you know, a small island. But wait, there's more. This gold-plated beauty isn't just for show. It's got an outdoor seating area designed to showcase the newlyweds to the public, because when you're royalty, you can't just wave to the crowds from inside your car. No, you need a special outdoor area to do it from. Now you might be thinking, okay, but who needs a car like this? Well, let me tell you about the Sultan of Brunei. This guy doesn't just have one fancy car. No, he's got the largest private car collection in the world. We're talking about 7,000 cars worth over $5 billion. That's more cars than some small countries have. And get this, out of those 7,000 cars, over 600 of them are Rolls-Royces. No, really, 600. It's like he looked at his garage full of Rolls-Royces and thought, you know what? I need more.